The following may contain language that is not suitable for all audiences. It's time for the Low Fact Podcast.
Woohoo!
It's that time once again where we
Eat, drink, and be merry.
and talk about bullshit that's going on.
And drink beer and smoke cigarettes.
And talk about bullshit that's going
And
on.
smoke weed. No, we don't smoke weed.
Can't take the weed.
You can't take the weed. I love weed.
It's bad for you.
Yeah. Wow.
He said as he took a swallow of hard alcohol.
The jury's out on that for me. I mean, I think everything in moderation, man.
Anyway, so before we get started, please like and subscribe. I don't know what that does, but since everybody else says it, I figured I'd jump on the bandwagon to see what happens.
Who are you? I'm not used to seeing you saying like and subscribe.
I just want to see what happens.
Very well.
But so basically, the week has been more the same BS as last week, as last week, as last week.
So nothing's new.
Not really. I mean, you know, basically when Donald Trump was the president, the corporate media was going off about how things are going to hell in a handbasket, white supremacy, xenophobia, destroying the climate, you know, all that great stuff.
And nothing's changed?
Well, now that Joe Biden's president, they're propping up this guy who really seems to have lost a few steps, even from, you know, when he was the VP.
I don't really remember him doing much as the VP. Well, VPs don't do much, do they?
Well, no, but the fun thing about Joe Biden was he'd always say something really crazy,
Right.
and it'd be kind of fun to listen to. Now it's just kind of sad.
Sad or terrifying?
Well, why would you be terrified?
Because he's the president.
So?
Well, if he's not all there, then couldn't he just do something, make some crazy decision?
Well, sure, but the whole purpose of having the president is so that everybody around him can sit there and pass the buck to him.
Okay.
In this case, nobody's giving him the buck anyway. So, you know, all these people that wanted, I don't know what they wanted, but whoever voted for him, I don't know, whatever. But that's
how's the country?
So they say.
So they say, yeah.
Now, I'm not trying to say that it was rigged or anything, but I just find it hard to believe, and that could just be from my point of view.
Sure smelled funny though, didn't it?
It really did. But, I mean, in no particular order. Oh, and so now that Joe Biden is the president, the right-leaning media, or the media for folks that are right-leaning, is going off on how the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Joe Biden's like, you know, destroying everything, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
Case in point, you know, there's always a lot of talk about how violent crimes have gone up.
Uh-huh.
And it has. And they're attributing it to the whole defund the police type thing, which the ongoing conventional wisdom is that the whole defund the police is not get rid of police. They want centralized police.
Is this what's being talked about in conspiracy right-wing circles?
It's not conspiracy. I mean,
It's a fact?
I don't know if it's a fact, but that's just one of the things that are being put out there. And I believe it, but why would you want to have a strong centralized police for a country this big?
We already have an army.
Well, you don't have a strong centralized police.
We don't need strong centralized police. We've got the National Guard and we've got strong state police.
Well, I'm saying it goes against the traditions of the country.
Okay.
The whole purpose of the country was not to have a strong centralized government. For 150, 160 years of the Republic.
Yeah.
And then in the 20th century, things started getting more centralized and more, you know, I'm not gonna go into my ideas, but I do kind of think that, well, I just lied. I guess I am going to go into it, but I do think that one of the big things that contributed to the strong centralization of stuff is giving the federal government more money in the form of income tax, and having statewide office, having the senators being voted directly by the populace.
Yeah, you talked about this a little before. I wish I understood I should understand the political process a bit better in America. I really don't.
Well, what gives you pause?
So, you've explained it before. You explained the difference, and I didn't get it then, and I still don't really understand the difference now.
Well, we'll try it again then. So basically, when the country was founded, the only federal office that the population voted for directly was their congressman, their representative in Congress.
Okay.
And then in the state side, they voted directly for their state representatives, their local.
Who the people?
The people voted for the people used to vote for, and they still do now. Your councilman, your mayor, your state representatives, state senators, your governor.
Right.
Right. On the federal side, the only representative that you voted for directly as a member of the populace was your congressman.
Okay.
Right. And so then what happened was, when it came time to appoint senators, the people that you voted for, your state senators, your state representatives, the folks in the state, right? They picked people to be the senators to look after the interest of the states.
Right.
But now, and I think that this also might have happened in 1913, I can't remember, you vote for the senators. And also you vote for the president. Right. But well, no, they still do. So basically you vote for the president, but the electors could overrule you, so to speak.
Historically.
Yeah, now they can't. A lot of states have put laws on the books saying that whoever the population votes for, the electors have to vote for.
Okay. That's probably like to stop corruption, supposedly, right?
Well, I don't know, because before there was loads of corruption. And that was when they switched to have the population, the people in the state vote for their senators. One of the rationales for it was to sidestep the machine politics.
Right.
So my point is, you're always going to have corruption. There's no way to get rid of it. The only thing that you have to decide as a person is how much corruption are you willing to deal with.
Okay.
Right? Because...
Well, how would you know how much corruption there is going on, though?
Well...
Or you just, intuit it?
It's an intuitive thing. You just have to intuit how much of whatever is going on can you deal with.
Right.
Now, in a well-running American republic, there would be a really large middle class. In any country, a really large middle class would be a buffer against the super poor, but also against the super rich. And what seems to be happening, and what a lot of people are railing against, especially the pundits on TV, is the fact that our middle class is eroding. And so now you just got these super rich people, and that's just business as usual in a state.
Right. And
the funny thing is that everyone has good intentions. Whether they admit it, everyone has good intentions. The point is that, just like the good book says, the road to perdition is paved with good intentions. And whether or not the thing that many people who I think lack a certain sense of maturity, they can't see that. They can't see, oh, my good intentions could have incredibly horrific outcomes.
Because they're like, if my intentions are good, then there's got to be a good result.
Right, and that's why I say it's incredibly immature.
But then if things go wrong, they just say, well,
No, if things go wrong, it's not your fault.
Okay.
It's somebody else that had malicious intention that overrode my good intention, but that goes back to my point. Everyone thinks that they have good intentions. Everyone thinks that they work hard. Everyone thinks that they are good, with a few exceptions. And, it's just like when I sit there and tell you, projection pretty much happens from everybody, with very few exceptions.
Right.
But when I say that, everyone, even if I don't say that, everyone would think that they are the exception. See, when I see people coming on the tube or whatever source for entertainment or information, they always talk about, well, okay, the big thing, the racism thing.
Yeah.
You know, everyone who subscribes or ascribes or describes themselves as a Democrat or a member of the Democratic Party does so because they say, well, the Democratic Party is the party of compassion, and, you know, I'm a compassionate person and I'm good and I like to help people, so I must be a Democrat.
Uh-huh.
And those same people decide that everybody that's not them is the opposite. And while it is satisfying and easier to sit there and do things black and white, like the interpretation of a law, right? If it's not written, then it's not included.
Right.
So by saying I'm good, if you don't agree with me, you must be bad. Well, the whole point is everyone's bad. Everyone's good. That's not a way to think about it. Just because you don't agree to my point of view does not make you evil. And vice versa. Just because you think someone opposing you is evil does not make you good.
But that's how people look at the world.
And I believe that is incredibly naive and immature.
Well, when I say people, I mean the majority.
Again, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
My conclusion still holds water and is still true.
But that's like, it's almost like it's like ingrained in people. It's almost like it's like comes from, I don't know, whether it's like the group mentality or...
Well, I don't know that it really makes any difference about where it comes from. It just is.
It's like the whole us and them thing.
Well, that's the whole part of being in a society. Society doesn't work without a common enemy.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Okay, fair enough. But I just don't see how you can have a society without a common enemy. If there is no common enemy, there's really no need.
Wait, but what's the common enemy in a society? What's some examples?
Well, a common enemy is just whatever other group that is opposed to your group.
Okay.
If you go into a family, right? Everybody that's not part of your family is not.
Okay.
I mean, they might not necessarily be an enemy, but they're not your family.
Right.
And, you know, as you know...
I don't think of families as having enemies, though. I mean, I know I'm being very literal at this point, but...
Well, yeah, but as you know, anyone that is not part of the family is a potential enemy. And for people like me, where family comes first...
Yeah.
You know...
Family and then clan?
Well, it's the same difference.
Yeah.
Your clan is your family.
I don't understand the clan mentality, because I don't really come from a...
The clan is your family.
Right.
They're just not your immediate family. Your clan is like is extended family.
Right. The clan.
Well, what do you mean?
Your clan.
Yeah.
Probably like a few 100,000 people, right?
Sure.
That's a big clan.
But even with that, you know, just because you share my last name, more than likely you're part of my clan, because that's just the way society works in the country that my parents come from.
Yeah.
But they're just as there are members of that clan that are as much strangers to me, in that, you know, the only commonality is that more recently we shared a common ancestor than maybe, you know, someone from Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Which means you'd probably have to go back way farther. I don't know where this was going, but...
Oh, we were talking about a common enemy.
Right. So you need a common enemy in order for a society to kind of get the job done.
But why?
Well, you need a reason to be together, to be bound. And if you don't share blood, then you'd better share some common interests.
Yeah.
That's how the United States can sit there and say, oh, this country is our enemy because this country is trying to make my country less.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're fighting a war against another country, all of a sudden you just make up reasons for why that country is less.
Yeah.
And during World War II, I thought it was kind of funny in that there was an incredibly large German population in the United States, and yet the country was fighting against countries where a lot of people's ancestors came from.
How there
Germany, Italy, Japan.
There were even a few people that went and fought for Germany, right? Went back.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, did they make a bad decision.
Or even Italy or Japan, even.
Yeah.
But, so there's that. But moving on, in no particular order, another funny tidbit. I find that, there's various explanations for the inflation, which I thought was just kind of dumb.
For the inflation that's going on?
Yeah. So basically, the big thing is there is a lot of inflationary pressure because a whole lot of money has been printed, which makes the money that's out there worth less, which is basically mental gymnastics. You're taking this fake thing and treating it as if it's a naturally occurring thing. So when you can make more of this fake thing, all of a sudden you have to say, well, then it's worth less because if it was a naturally occurring thing, there would be less of it, right?
Oh, gosh.
And so there's a bunch of people sitting there saying, on one side, people are like, oh, you need to worry about the inflationary pressures because we're putting way too much money and blah, 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 blah. On the other side, it's, well, we don't have to worry about it too much because, it's going to right itself. Right now, the reason why the prices of stuff is going up because there's been all this pent up demand. Like gas prices, if you haven't noticed.
I have noticed.
Have been going up a lot. And, they're saying, well, it's like when they first did the mandatory shutdowns of various economies, gas prices, the price of gas plummeted, but I didn't really see it plummet that much.
No, it didn't really plummet.
Because the oil producing countries are like, okay, well, let's not make that much.
Right.
I don't know that that's that important.
Well, it could be when shit hits the fan.
Oh, here's something that I thought was kind of cool. So the results of the census stuff came out.
Okay.
And surprise, surprise, New York and California lost population. But then again, so did Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. They all lost seats. Like one each.
Oh, wow.
But Texas, Florida, Montana, North Carolina, Colorado, and Oregon gained seats. Or a seat.
That does not surprise me, especially Texas.
Yeah, but
everybody's been going to Texas.
Yeah, but I don't think that's that big of a deal because when I was growing up, I remember in elementary school, all these people, I lived in Georgia and Tennessee, and I saw the results of that when I was, when I was in Georgia, a whole bunch of kids came into school.
Uh-huh.
When I say a whole bunch, at least 2 or 3 families.
Okay.
Were people that their parents were escaping Texas. And then when I was in Tennessee, which was around the same time, same deal. All these people escaping Texas.
Right.
And now Texas is on the way up. And, you can't really sit there and say, oh, it's because Texas knows what it's doing. I'm like, this is cyclical.
Is it still, I don't know if it's still booming or not. It might not be.
It will stop booming when the people who try to leave the places that they're leaving, trying to make Texas into the place that they left.
Right.
That's like on a lark. I went and checked the rankings of my college just to see, and a college that used to be ranked below my college is now ranked higher than my college. And I was like, wow, I should have gone to that college when I had the chance.
But your point is that it shit'll change.
Well, that too, and also in the grand scheme of things, I still went to a really great school. And the school that's now ranked better is still in the same tier. So it's not like anything would have changed in my life.
Right.
Right. It's like someone sitting there going,
yeah, now he knows about your school anyway.
It doesn't matter, so I'll use different schools. It's like sitting there saying, oh, I should have gone to Harvard or I should have gone to Princeton instead of Harvard because Princeton's now ranked number 1.
Right.
Who cares?
Well, I think rankings kind of,
rankings don't matter.
They do to people who are hiring.
If they do to people that are hiring, those people, look, it's the same thing that I've talked about.
Call them retards.
No. We try to use shortcuts to to explain stuff, right?
Okay.
And a lot of times that's good. A lot of times it's worthwhile. For example, if you find somebody that went to Harvard, then you think that that person's really smart because Harvard's a really hard school to get into. And you would think if it's hard to get into, then it's because
it's a really good school.
Right. And so it would take the best people, right?
Yeah.
Now, I just have to say this. For all those people that think that those are great schools and poo-poo stupid people, you know, if you're a lefty or a Democrat, George W. Bush went to Yale and Harvard. If you're a right-winger, all the Kennedys went to Harvard.
Right. The fucking Kennedys, man. They're overrated.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, okay, someone went to Harvard, but, you know, you kind of have to dig a little deeper and figure out what that person was. That's like the whole idea of thinking if someone was in the military or in the Marines, they must be hard-charging, tough people.
Right.
And
there's some tough ones.
There are a lot of tough ones.
And there's ones that aren't.
There are a lot that aren't. Exactly.
So we.
Well, we're just talking about using the shortcut. Yeah, it's okay to use the shortcut, but I think that is only the first step in an analysis.
Right.
Right. That's like thinking everybody in the army was in the infantry. There's a big difference between someone who's in special forces and someone who's a cook. They're both in the army, but they have different jobs and they have different capabilities. By thinking everyone in the army is a Green Beret, you know, that's mistaken because they're like less than 1%.
But that's kind of the myth that the Ivy Leagues, well, I mean, maybe they were at one point. I mean, I think probably they were.
Look, the Ivy Leagues, the reason why they're so great is because they were here before everybody else. Those 8 schools were it.
Yeah.
For the longest time.
Hence the ivy growing on the building.
Yes, it was actually a sport writer that was called that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I am not a collectivist.
Really?
Big news, I know.
Not big news to anybody listening.
I am more focused on the individual, and I think that the individual should be protected and helped, or it's more important than the group. There has to be some subsuming of your individuality for the group. But the group, what's best for the group is not always what's best for individuals. But on the flip side, I think what is best for the individual is usually something that will help out the group.
Right.
And my point would be Fifth Amendment. It would be better for the group to just have high conviction rates in crime. Then the group would be like, we're taking care of it. I live in a safe society because, you know, the police catch 91% of all the criminals.
Right.
A la Japan back in the 90s. Everybody was touting Japan's high conviction rate.
Yeah.
Well, those convictions came out of confession. And for people that don't know, being stuck with the Japanese police, you know.
Not much fun.
Dude, any police force.
Yeah.
No good.
So your point is that the Fifth Amendment is there to protect the individual.
Right. Because what good is a high conviction rate if all those people just falsely confess?
Yeah. That's the funny thing about statistics, though, isn't it?
What?
Unless you look into the statistics, then they don't mean shit.
Right.
I said 91% conviction rate. What if half those people were innocent?
Well, if you have no skin in the game, you don't care.
Unless you're one of those guys that got convicted.
I just said that.
Yeah.
You know, the people that sit there and say, "Oh, if it saves one more person, I don't care if we have to lock down the entire world." And I'm like, okay, what if you're the one that has to bear the brunt of all the negatives?
Right. Well, none of those people do it, though.
Exactly. That's
all
my
the people
point.
Saying that. It's like the people that were fucking saying, the pro-mask folk, the people that are all about wearing a mask all the time. None of those people are wearing their masks. They're not sitting there going to a grocery store and working 10 hours a day, fucking exerting themselves wearing a mask.
Well, they like to think of themselves as the exception, and that's fine with me.
Fuck them.
That too. What else? Okay, here's some funny stuff that happened that I thought was kind of make you go, There's continued tension between the U.S. and Russia. So now that we're coming out of Afghanistan, we need to fight another war, a global war that could be nuclear war. Not going to be fun. John Kerry might have fed a shit ton of information to the Iranians.
Oops. Deliberately?
Yes. Of course he denies it, which is fine.
I hate John Kerry.
Oh, the feds raided Rudolph Giuliani's house on a fishing expedition.
And found nothing.
Well, they found a whole bunch of stuff, but the funny thing is according to Mayor Giuliani, as they were taking all this electrical equipment, they picked up these hard drives, and they're like, what's this? And Giuliani was like, oh, those are Hunter Biden's hard drives from his laptop. They dropped those things apparently like it was a hot potato. Oh, we don't want to see any of that. Which adds...
They're not really Hunter Biden's hard drives, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he might have just been being a smartass.
No, according to him, he's been trying to talk with the FBI to give all this information to get down to things. And that's the point, This is leading to the conclusion of many people that it's just a witch hunt to punish people who work with Donald Trump, number one. And that, they don't really care.
Wow. Hey, speaking of the FBI.
Okay.
So, I saw the end of an interview on Conan last night with, what's his face, George Lopez, Mr. Giant Head.
Yeah.
And I guess, I missed this in the news, but I guess at some point someone talked about killing Donald Trump for $80 million, and George Lopez must have made some comment as a joke and said, I'm Mexican, I'll do it for $40 million. But I guess the FBI went to his house.
It's supposed to be the Secret Service.
Well, whoever, they went to his house, and he said they had like a file on him, like a 2-inch file thick, and it was like all of his tweets, everything he ever did on social media, just all that shit. So if you think anybody out there, if you think you're not being tracked and that the government's not like able to fucking watch everything you do on social media, then
well, it's not just
a moron. It's
not just that, but there's also a mandate. The Secret Service is tasked with investigating every.
So it's not the FBI?
It shouldn't be. The Secret Service is supposed to investigate every claim.
But I don't think they do, though. Like, you think that they went to Madonna's house after she said that thing at the rally?
They're supposed to.
Oh, maybe they did then.
No matter how...
Because that surprised me. The George Lopez thing surprised me. Because he's a fucking comedian.
No matter how inconsequential or even, like, insincere or insignificant.
Huh. Even if you make a joke?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Well, I've never made that joke, so...
Don't start.
Yeah.
Which leads me to the other thing, which is a lot of folks... I get a lot of my information from the internet, not on regular TV. And a lot of people are sitting there saying... even people on TV are sitting there saying that... they find it's Republicans are just kind of chickens and blah, blah, this, and the Democrats can get away with doing all kinds of crazy junk, and the Republicans don't fight back. And, they say that like it's supposed to mean something, and I'm like, well, doesn't it really mean that they agree? We're not talking about regular sheep and goat votes. We're talking about people that play in the pen.
Right.
So everyone that's in Congress... Everyone that is a bureaucrat, whether they started to or not, Chinatown has changed them. Whether they were like that to begin with, or they were like Huey Long and was like, I'm gonna root out corruption in DC or whatever. I think the reason why the Democratic Party or the so-called Democrats get away with a lot of the stuff that Republicans don't fight back at is because they agree.
Huh.
Because the natural instinct of a human is if someone fights dirty, you fight dirty back.
Yeah, that's true. No, definitely. Yeah, like if everybody's cheating.
So, to sit there and go, I don't understand why these people aren't taking care of your interests. First of all, why would you think that they are? If you're not policing them.
Yeah, that's so true. If you're fucking asleep at the wheel, and then... Oh my God.
Do you deserve it?
Yes.
Well, that's my conclusion. A lot of people will say no because I didn't do anything.
I don't deserve it.
But that.
But other people do.
Everybody's an exception, right? I really hate this whole idea, this group of people. When you get into a group, for some reason, it's like you lobotomized yourself. And I hate to use this term because it can be bastardized and corrupted, but you have to remain ever vigilant. Doesn't mean you have to be a vigilante, but you have to be vigilant. If you want a system to work as intended, you have to do your part to make it work as intended. And I will leave with my favorite thing because
Porn.
I like bashing stupid people. And I thought and still think that one of the stupidest things that you can say to someone is, in a relationship, you have to do your fair share, your 50%. And I'm just like, that makes no sense.
Why not?
If you're in a relationship, romantic or otherwise, it's not you put in half. You put in all. You put in all of what you got into it. That's your half.
Right. Oh, this is your whole thing about different capabilities for different folks.
Yeah.
So I might put in my full, and that might be like 30% or 40%.
You could be an incredible specimen of humanity, and your significant other is not so incredible. and if you say, each of us,
and if you broke it down into a pie of like the total effort of the relationship in toto,
right? So if in order to get to half, everyone having their half to make a whole, your half will be less than your spouse's or significant other's half.
If they're the amazing spouse and significant other.
If they are not so amazing as you.
You're asking, you're going to be more.
Your half, to get to half,
right,
is going to require less effort from you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which will lead to a whole lot of piss-offedness.
From the other person.
Right.
Because they're going to be like, he's fucking half-assing shit.
But regardless of that, everyone thinks they're putting their full boat, so it doesn't matter how hard you put in or how much you put in. Your teammate, if they're not objective and run super emotional, are going to always think you're putting in less than they are.
Well, there you go. So what do you call this? Is there a name for this theory?
I don't know.